Well, that was a movie.
Hello, welcome back to First Thoughts. I'm Simon, this is Justin, and today we're giving our first thoughts on the new Dave Pilkey, I think that's how you say his name, the guy who made Captain Underpants, his new movie, Dogman, which, in case you don't know what that is, basically the two kids in Captain Underpants also make other comics in those books, and this is one of the other comics that they make, Dogman, so it's also its own book series too, but yeah.
Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's starring Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
It's also got Ricky Gervais in it. It's got Isla Fisher. It's got Lil Ray. Something.
Of course.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Lil Ray.
Yeah, who's
Something.
Lil Ray something.
Yeah.
You know who that is, right? Lil Ray Howery. Yep.
Yeah, of course. We all knew that.
You know who he is. Come on.
I was just giving you the opportunity to let the people know.
He's in Get Out.
Okay. Yep. I definitely remembered his name.
It's the guy. Young Gravy played Mr. Whiskers. He also was during the end credits. I noticed that Young Gravy's song playing during the end credits, but he was the other cat in the cat jail.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
No, I did not. So anyway, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I did get bored at times. Somebody else got very bored at a certain point in time.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
But it was hilarious. I mean, the voice acting is great. The plot is really silly and really stupid in the best ways possible. It's very reminiscent, if you like Captain Underpants, that kind of humor and style and everything. I enjoyed it. I mean, was it a great movie? Is it going to win an Oscar? No. But I think, it's the perfect, family movie.
Listen. This is a shoe-in for a Kids' Choice Award.
Is it?
I don't know.
Though?
I assume so.
I don't think so.
But no, this was very funny at times.
Yeah.
Over-the-top humor, non-stop. Just one joke after another. Doesn't matter if it lands at all. We're gonna just.
But most of them do land.
And yeah, quite a few.
It's a good mixture of sight gags and then also wordplay, and oftentimes combining the two. Like there's a chase scene and you see two guys walking to the road carrying a box of bees, which is hilarious because you're like, the plain glass window kind of thing where it's two guys, but it's a box of bees, which is like, why would you have that? Then they knock them over and the box opens up and a bunch of letter B's fall out. And it's just like, okay. So that's the kind of humor you're working with here. And it's fantastic. But then the movie is also really sentimental and it, aimed at parents kind of stuff. And I think that part worked just as well too, where it's very sentimental. I said Pete Davidson, he plays Petey the cat, and I know he's not the main character, Dogman is. He's like the main villain, but Dogman doesn't talk. And so Petey kind of becomes the main character in some ways because he's given the most emotional weight of any character. And Pete Davidson, I thought, actually did really well with it.
I did not know going in it was him, but I recognized it during the movie.
I did not know going in that Ricky Gervais was in this movie, and then he pops up and you're like, that has to be him. Nobody else sounds like Ricky Gervais. Not that he's in it a lot, but he plays another villain character, this Flippy the fish, and he was good.
Flippy.
I enjoyed the whole cast, though, honestly, and I thought the jokes, like you said, they just kept coming, and it was fairly consistent where you didn't really get sick of the humor at any point. There's, like I said, there's a lull in there where the plot becomes more important than the comedy for a little bit, and the plot this isn't like The Incredibles or something.
We have to push the emotional growth forward, okay?
Sure.
You gotta stop a little bit.
Yeah.
Give it like 5-10 minutes.
And it did drag a little bit, but it snaps back and the comedy keeps going again, and it's really funny, and the action is enough that like a little kid would be entertained by the action. I mentioned to you because you fell asleep during the part, but they're like doing like this scene where there's like these characters, like a giant robot character, and they're like doing wrestling moves in the middle of the city, like suplexes, and like, not the suplex, and it's just like, it's fun stuff that a kid would enjoy, or an adult with a kid would enjoy. And normally when I go and we review these kids movies, I feel like we go to an earlier showing, and so there's kids and stuff, which seems like the appropriate thing to do, like you get a good gauge on kids' reactions. We didn't, and there was like no kids in the audience, and I was shocked how many adults just decided to go see this movie by themselves.
Listen, us Captain Underpants fans are adults now, okay? We have to reminisce on our
I
childhood.
said Cats and Underpants.
Yes. Well, I mean, that too.
Like,
Okay? Cats and Underpants and Cats and Underpants. All right?
Sure, okay.
Listen.
Yeah.
One's a little more dangerous than the other, but all right. just watch where those claws go. But we are
There's so
adults
many
now.
inappropriate things I could say, and I'm not going to say any of them.
We are reminiscing on this side story of a story from our childhood.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I actually ever read a Captain Underpants book where they actually wrote about Dogman. I don't remember that story, because I remember when the trailer first happened, and like you can tell based on the animation style that it was in the same universe as Captain Underpants, but like them going through the origin story of like the cop and his dog are in an accident and an explosion happens, like, we'll put the dog head on the cop's body. Great idea. And I was just like, this is hilarious, and it is that signature Captain Underpants humor, but I'm like, I don't remember any of this.
It kind of seemed a little familiar, just Dogman, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I did read a lot of them, but we are talking like, my God, well over 15 years since I picked one up.
Yeah, and we talked about this before the movie, but neither one of us saw the Captain Underpants movie for some reason. I don't know why we didn't get around to it, because it seems like it would have been perfect for us, but we didn't watch it, and that was, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. So now I want to go back and see that, because if it's as quality as this one was, then I'm sure I'm going to love that too. I'm definitely much more nostalgic for actual Captain Underpants stuff than Dogman, although the concept of Dogman's hilarious.
Listen, you just gotta attach him, all right?
Yeah.
It works out the best of both worlds.
It is. Fantastic. I don't know. I kind of just want to talk about spoilers, talk about the plot a little bit. So for whatever reason you care about things being spoiled, you should click away, go watch it, come back, and we can talk about it then. But we are getting to spoilers now, so please remember to like, share, follow, subscribe, all the things you can do. Please do them. It helps. Thanks, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. Yeah, the plot, I mean, it is super basic and super thin as far as just like there's villains trying to rule the world or get rid of all do-gooders becomes the plot. But there's other elements to it too, where usually the plot is just as much a joke as it is actual plot, which makes it work really well. Because so the bad guy, Petey the cat, wants to clone himself because his assistant quit and says the only person that would want to work with you is you. It's just like, I'll clone myself. And he accidentally gets this cloning machine that starts the clone from baby age. So he's got a baby version of himself, and the undo button, it doesn't come included, so he has to order that. Doesn't come yet, so he's stuck with Lil Petey. And so it's like all of this is a gag, obviously, but it becomes the main plot of the movie, where it's like Pete Davidson, or I guess Petey, avoiding being a father. And so then this kid going through this character arc where he gets attached to Dogman, and then they try and bring back in Petey's dad, and so it's like what starts out as seemingly like just a throwaway joke becomes the plot, and surprisingly, I wouldn't say deep, but emotional at times. There's some legitimate stuff they're talking about, families and what it's like not just being whoever your dad is. A lot of stuff that I did not go into this movie necessarily prepared for.
Yeah, I did not know about the young clone. I did think it was funny that there was 5 steps to the cloning process. He just didn't read the instructions beforehand. One at a time. Let me just do it there. But as soon as little Petey said dad or papa, whatever he called him first, I was like, oh, that's where this movie's going.
Yeah, because you go into the movie based on the trailer, and it's just okay, Dogman becomes Dogman. All right, there's a cat, they're gonna fight.
That's all I got.
That's all you really get, and that happens in the first 15 minutes, and you're like, wait, so now what? But then you get introduced to Lil Petey, you're like, oh, this is the plot now.
It happens a lot in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it does.
He escapes again and again.
A montage. Yep. I was like, all right, let's move on now.
Listen, he had to escape like 20 times. That's all,
Yeah. I love during that first section where the cop, I forget the cop's name, like Officer Knight or whatever. He says, if anything happens to me, take care of my girlfriend. And then the dog's like, if anything happens to me, take care of my tennis ball. Love that. That was so good. But yeah, I did really enjoy the character arc and stuff. And something surprisingly mature about the movie is the take on the cat's dad. Because, like, so he gets invited back, and it turns out, like, he's a deadbeat, which he knew because he abandoned him to begin with.
Right.
But he never has any sort of growth as a character. He's just a dirtbag, and then he leaves again. And so there's, like, a talk that Petey and Lil Petey have to have, where it's like, so wait, why did he do that? We were nice to him. And it's like, some people just don't change. Some people don't get better. And so that kind of changes Lil Petey's perspective. He used to see everything as good and awesome in the world, and now he's seeing all the negativity, his dad pointed out, and now his dad has to kind of like be like, all right, okay, well, yeah, the world has issues, but there's good things about it, and the world is still a good place because you're in it, kind of thing. And so it's just like, I'm a sucker for any kind of thing like that in movies, like dad-son relationship dynamic stuff, right. And I thought that was done really well, honestly, and maturely, shockingly, because like it would have been so easy to do a silly little cop-out thing, but I thought their approach was really, really well done.
Come on, you don't love when the big emotional moments hits its climax, and then there's a huge gag right there to just cut all of that emotion, just flatten that out right there, just crush those warm feelings you had.
It also would have been awful if like the grandpa came back to save the day or something, because it's like, well, why would that happen? Like, and it would just cheapen the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't really have the whole message of some people don't change, and then no, yeah, everybody changes.
Or they do, yay!
We're a family.
Yeah, and it's something that we pointed out. We've seen a few kids' movies recently where I feel like a big complaint people have about kids' movies or TV shows nowadays is how much they spoon feed kids, and they're like, they don't let you think, they don't let you feel, not like the 90s cartoons where it's like death and suffering and demons and shit. And honestly though, between this and Garfield, and I forget what the other one we saw was, but it's like there have been a lot of really heavy subjects actually that are just plainly talked about. Like in this, like obviously there's some death, the cop guy dies or whatever, but then his girlfriend abandons him, and then there's a big thing with the abandonment of Lil Petey to Petey, and then also reflecting that on his dad. And it's like, that's some tough shit that they don't shy away from. And yeah, it's talked about sensitively, but it's addressed head on and not just avoided.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about this era of kids movies, is they actually try to tackle important subjects. They're not completely avoiding it.
No, it is nice to see that kids aren't being completely coddled by these movies. Like,
yeah.
Like, it would be very simple for them to just shy away from all that. But I wonder how much the kids understand of these things.
Right,
like,
yeah.
You have the movies, what would we say, like 80% just this wild humor the whole time.
Sure.
These emotional moments are in there. I feel like the kids will connect with some. And if they like the movie, rewatch it as they grow a little older, it'll probably unfold more for them.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, it's the same thing though with like The Lion King, where it's like Mufasa dies, Hakuna Matata, it's like we're not staying depressed about it the whole time, which is one thing that I've always pointed about at Don Bluth as opposed to, Disney, and where they diverged is like in Land Before Time.
Oh gosh.
His mom dies, he cries about it for a scene, and then an old dinosaur comes along and goes, "What are you sad about it?" "My mom died." "Yeah, man, that's life." It's just like, holy shit. So we're not, this isn't Don Bluth level, but it is in that like Disney territory where heavy subject, talk about it, and then, you know, back to the gags.
We'll give
or
it
dance rave number at the end.
We'll give it a little moments.
Yeah.
And then back to,
Yeah, and I think that's perfect for kids. Like, you don't want to depress the kids,
Yeah.
but you want to not coddle them, like you said. You want to, like, give them enough respect as an audience to deal with stuff, because, like, you know, I think they were afraid that, like, for some reason, stuff like The Lion King or these Disney movies were, for some reason, all of a sudden too heavy for kids, and so they stopped doing stuff like that. But it's like, for us growing up, that was... I never had a negative memory associated with The Lion King.
No.
I love that movie, but at the same time, that kind of stuff, and not just, I keep saying Disney, but it's not just that. Like, you know, Blue's Clues had a whole thing about moving on when people leave your life because Steve left, and they tackle that straight on. You know, like, sometimes people leave. Oh, well, you know, and it's like, granted, that was a tough situation. But, well, they didn't have to fire the guy, but they did, because he was balding, God damn it. But, you know, it's like, when you give kids opportunities to grapple with tougher subjects, they will. You know, kids think a lot more than people give them credit for. So I enjoy when kids' movies give opportunity to kids to think about stuff. And honestly, to piggyback off of that, the whole way that they defeat the other bad guy, Flippy, is by showing him affection. So it's not just, oh, there's a bad guy, let's smack him or take him down or whatever. It's like, sometimes, you know, like, because it's like, who's the hero? They're all the hero. Like, you know, there's not just a good guy and a bad guy. There's a whole range of people here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think some people could say, oh, well, that's too progressive. I hate that. Shut up. It's cool to see different types of characters like that in kids' stuff. It's not oversimplified. You can have other things happen in there, too.
Hey, what's too progressive about this movie is little Petey having two dads.
You know what's really progressive about this movie was that the cop was living with his girlfriend. I was shocked by that in a kid's movie, but, you know, once again, that's something that you say, and I don't think a kid's gonna pick up on that or really attach to.
Not in any real way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you living with your girlfriend. Yeah,
Okay, that happens.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? But yeah, no, I did it.
Playing house.
Yeah. Speaking of houses, so okay, This was the part that you fell asleep during this. So once again, a gag becomes the plot. So there's, as everything works in this movie, you know, it's like the secret lair has a big neon sign, secret lair. There's this building of gas that makes things alive, and that's where they want to take the dead fish. But then there's two pipes on top, and one is like, this is the steam.
The super long one is
steam pipe. This one is not. And there's two signs pointing at, like, steam pipe, not steam pipe, and they drop it in the wrong pipe by accident, which clogs the thing. But eventually they pull it out, and then it gets the gas on it anyway, but now the gas is filling the whole building, so the building becomes alive too, and so the building is now working for the bad guy, which was also funny. All the buildings only say, like, arugaba or some random gibberish phrase,
right.
And the fish goes like, wait, what is that? What are you saying? Is that yes? Arugaba. Okay, sure, let's go. But anyway, so then they build this giant mailman robot thing for some reason to, like, Pacific Rim fight this guy, and then they knock out the building, but then all the gas from the building sprays out onto all the other buildings, so now the entire city is attacking. But then, of course, there's just this one rave house that all it wants to do is rave and party instead. It's so silly. It's so much fun. I'm wondering if somebody involved in this process was from Philly, by the way, because so at one point they're in the tank and they get thrown and they land on, there's this building that's like a restaurant that's like got this guy on top of the building holding a sandwich, and they land in the sandwich and they're like, oh no, we landed in a gyro. And then the owner of the store goes, it's a cheesesteak, you jerks. And then for the next couple of minutes, the newswoman goes like, they're in a gyro. And then Pete's dad is like, it's a cheesesteak. And so it's just like, I wonder why they did that. But that had me cracking up.
Representing the cheesesteaks.
How do you mistake a cheesesteak for a gyro, though?
Well, common mistake. Pita bread and a roll. It's just so very similar.
Chopped versus folded.
Yeah.
I guess there are some people that fold cheesesteaks, but those people are wrong.
I don't want to meet those people. I've thankfully never met those people. Stay away from me.
Jerks. The whole time I was thinking, like, I wish this was out a month or two ago when my nephews were in town, because I would have taken them to see this and it would have been great. Like, it's just the perfect movie for kids.
Yeah, I can see my little cousin loving this. I think he's like 6, 7 right now.
And it's that perfect,
age.
it's a perfect writing style that, like, kids are going to love this. And then the adults that take the kids to see it are gonna love it just as much. And I love that when, like, kids movies are written like that, because I feel like it's a dying art form. We're just in a really bad era of kids movies, but I feel like we're slowly creeping out of it.
I mean, you can't, especially nowadays, you can't just make a kids movie that isn't in the slightest way entertaining for the parents, because they can just wait for streaming.
So this movie, it's just fun. Like, I want to recommend it not as, like, a great movie, but as a very fun movie that will be equally just as fun for adults as it is for the kids. Like I said, it's not like, this isn't going to be an Oscar winner. This isn't The Incredibles. This isn't Shrek. This isn't The Lion King.
This is a Kids' Choice Award.
Maybe. And it's very good for what it is. But, I mean, this was released in February for a reason. Or January. When was it released? It was released at the beginning of the year for a reason.
Question. I guess January, I think.
Must have been the very end of... Shut the fuck up! For a reason. Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's like, this isn't an August movie or a December movie. Then they know that. So, yeah, I would give it 6.5, maybe a soft 7. I enjoyed it. It's a good time. Nothing, like, groundbreaking, but still good. It's very good for what it is. Yeah,
I could agree with 6.5 probably for me. It was solid.
How good does a movie have to be for you to not fall asleep?
No, that just depends on the movie.
It has nothing to do with the quality of the movie.
No.
You've fallen asleep during a couple of things we reviewed. What was Wreck-It Ralph 2?
Yeah.
Did I actually review that with you?
You did. Oh, no, that might have been... Because I think one of them we just skipped, but...
I think it may have been Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yeah. I think...
Did you fall asleep during Incredibles 2 as well?
Possibly.
There was something we faked our way through. I remember
that one. It might have been one of the Hotel Transylvanias.
Maybe it was that.
That was also interesting.
That, though.
I did enjoy it. That was also interesting because, like, we reviewed those and I still hadn't seen, like, the first two.
Yeah, and then we never saw the third one or the fourth one because it ended up being, like, direct to streaming because of COVID or something.
I don't feel like a lot of people are going to want to go see this in theaters by themselves.
I don't know. That's like a great date night movie or anything.
Not quite, but like if you have kids, you have younger relatives,
and you don't want them to come with you, you can go see it yourself.
Yeah, there's no shame in that.
If you want to avoid them,
they don't know why we see
leave them at home. Do that. Maybe wait till it's out on streaming if you really don't care one way or the other. I love going to the movies. I don't regret seeing it in theaters, but it's you know, it's a fun time, not an Oscar time, if that makes sense. Depends what you want out of a kid's movie. So I liked it. I recommend it. But let us know what you guys thought. If you've seen it, let us know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. Thanks, guys. Bye.